Hello, and let's start. Today is Friday, and you're probably already used to that. This time we usually have Magento MSI demo meeting, and today we have quite a lot of topics to share with you. Let me share my screen, and I already shared agenda in MSI Slack channel. So let's start. Let's follow the agenda. So the first item in the agenda is the finalization of the backlog for Milestone 2. So as you know, we had grooming meetings during the last 2 weeks, and we were discussing. We groomed the different stories and epic which we currently have in product backlog. So the product backlog reachable by this link, MSI roadmap. You can find it as a second link in the right panel, and this is actually a result of our grooming. So we decided to take these 6 stories. 2 of them are stories devoted for source and stock configuration. Another 2 stories devoted for complex product support, so for bundle and group correspondingly. And another story is about mass inventory assignment and reassignment. So this story is supposed to help single stock merchant to migrate their store to MSI. And another one, last but not the least, is a story with support of the negative threshold for backorder functionality. And this is a scope for Milestone 2. We will start our sprint officially from Monday. From next Monday, and we're supposed to finish it at the 1st of September. This is actually the finalized backlog. Also, I will share with you some architectural update at the end of this meeting, but that's all regarding the finalization. Also, there is pretty good news. That we finally run all our MFTF tests on Jenkins, and we managed to make them green. We managed to get a green build. So since now we have a green build with 50 scenarios, S0 scenarios, and this build will be helping us for managing all further pull requests created for MSI project. So that's all regarding the finalization of grooming status. And the next one gonna be Alessandra, who will demonstrate you actually already implemented story for negative threshold support for backorder functionality. Currently, Alessandro experienced some issue with the internet connection, but he recorded a video of the demonstration. So now I will share his demonstration.
Hello everyone. I'm working on negative out-of-stock threshold functionality, and today I will demonstrate how this affects the only X left functionality and how making an order of product with backorders enabled and negative out-of-stock threshold will make the product out of stock. So let's start by working on this product, the Crown Summit backpack. We have a file of this product. At the moment, we don't have out of stock thresholds or backorders set for this product. And in global configuration, the only X left threshold is not set, so we for example, set it to 5. Let's save the configuration. And at this point, when we go to the product detail page, as expected, we see the only 5 left message. Now, let's say that we allow backorders on this product. And doing that and saving the product, we expect that the only 5 left message will disappear from our front end. Let's refresh this page. And as expected, we don't have a message anymore. This is the standard way of working with Magento. Now, let's do something. Let's say that we, for example, change this quantity to 3. Let's save the product. So I also have to, okay, I can leave the allow quantity below 0. And I still don't expect anything to change here in the front end. We still have the in-stock product with backorders enabled. We can buy whatever quantity. But let's say that now we set a negative out-of-stock threshold. And let's say that we allow, okay, let's make a number which makes this product available, still available more than the quantity which is more than 5. Again, I refresh the page and the product is in stock because under the hood we have, as I will show you, we have 3 of this product and we allow to buy 10 more. So our total stock quantity is 13. So backorders are enabled with a negative out-of-stock threshold. Let's say that now this value becomes 2 instead of 10. Let's say now the total available quantity of this product will be 5. And at this point, I expect the only 5 left message appear. And here is it. So despite we have backorders enabled, since we have negative out-of-stock thresholds, we don't have infinite backorders, but we can order up to 5 of this product. Now let's see a second scenario in which we decide to order all of them. So 5 of these backpacks. Let's go to checkout. And let's buy these 5 backpacks. Let's place the order. And at this point, what we expect to see is that this Crown Summit backpack will be out of stock. And indeed, it's out of stock, despite we have backorders enabled. Because, as I said before, we only have backorders up to -3 allowed. So, sorry, -2. Which is subtracted to available quantity. The result is 5. That's exactly the quantity that we have bought. And just as a final check, let's see that the saleable quantity for the Crown Summit backpack now is 0. So it's out of stock. That's all from my side. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alexandra. Maybe there are some questions regarding this demonstrated functionality. Mark, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any specific questions. I think it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, of course, it's a bit, we will include in the documentation the ability to set a negative out of stock threshold, which is, it's powerful for the merchant, but maybe not intuitive. So as long as we have it documented, that'll be fine.
If I'm not wrong, Lori already started to compose this document.
Yes, yes.
I have an unrelated question somehow for checkout and place order time. Did we run any load tests to understand how reservation and changes in place order operation influence? Do we have improvements or some degradation? Performance or load tests?
We let's say that currently we don't. We have a task for that, and currently we actually we can rely, for example, for default stock, we can rely on existing existing load testing, because it's pretty the same, and we will in any case use the reservation under the hood.
So do we run that? So yeah, that's part of my question. Do we run our current CI/CD builds with performance tests against this branch and against this scenario?
Not yet. We wanted to do this in the scope of this milestone too.
Okay, understood.
Sorry, I ran it our performance build on Bamboo. It's about 3 weeks ago, and we had green build, but I don't know it was some performance. We had
right.
Green.
If it's green, at least we don't have a degradation. It's already good news. It might be if it's also it would be green even if it would be green if we have improvement. So.
I don't remember results, so I cannot say nobody about.
Well, I don't expect us to have degradation here. It doesn't look like we. If it didn't have asynchronous fulfillment, it would be significant improvement with reservations, right? If I understand correctly.
Exactly, but actually our idea was to run this test after we will finish some tasks regarding the improvement of boosting performance and
sorry for distracting this. Yeah, let's discuss it separately. I don't want to take a lot of time. Thank you. It clarifies.
So we wanted to run this right after we will fix this issue. So this issue is supposed to introduce some additional boost for performance, and after this fix gonna be delivered, we wanted to run all the load testing and performance testing. That was the idea. Okay, so let's continue and let's follow the declared agenda. The next item gonna be bug fixing, and Slava will show you what we fixed during this week.
Okay, hello everyone. I will show my screen. So I will show it's pretty simple bug fixing from Ivan Plitnov. It's about disabling for edition source code. For this, I create totally new source. With the same name and code. It doesn't matter in our case. Let's choose some country. And now I'm saving it. We had problems that you may edit source code, and actually you not edit it, but when you edit existing source code, you creating new source code, new source with new code. But this bug fixing is disabling it, and now you may see that everything is working. After you saved once your new source, the code is not editable anymore.
This is why actually we fix this issue, because we not far from one of the contributors created a ticket. So I just shared this ticket in the chat for the Zoom conference. And there is some kind of misunderstanding, because on MSI project we use natural identities for most of the entities, and one of them is a source. So we have a source code, and we don't have the database generated ID for this entity. And that's why actually it's not possible to update the natural identity, because in Magento we don't have CRUD, we have the LSD, and we have the same operation, which is actually the same for creation and updating entity. That's why what we managed to how we managed to fix, we just don't provide an ability to edit entity on UI level. So let's go further, and the next one gonna be Ricardo, who will show you the updates for his proof of concept regarding the mass inventory reassignment. Ricardo, feel free to share your screen.
Okay, give me a minute. Okay, you should see my screen. Okay, so basically in one of our last meeting, we decided to slightly change the behavior of the mass transfer inventory to source. That previously was basically taking multiple sources and migrating all the quantities from these sources to another source. So we decided to slightly change by letting the user to choose the origin source and the destination source. So basically, if I select one or more products and I select transfer inventory to source, now I am I have to choose what is the origin source. So if, for example, if I want to transfer from the test source to the default source, I can do it this way and make the inventory transfer. And of course, it's applied to all the products I selected. I still have some issue on the default stock reindexing, but I'm working on that. And plus, we also decided to add these other features you probably noticed before. That is transfer and then unassign from source. So basically, I can, for example, transfer the quantity from default source to test source and unassign all the products from the origin source. And we can do this. As you may see, the default source is basically removed from the assignment, and all the quantities are transferred to the destination source. Plus, we also decided to warn the user while using the unassign from inventory source. So, because when we unassign one product to one source, we basically remove all the quantities of the products in a permanent way, and we decided just to add this warning. And this is these are all the main changes I applied to this feature. And I don't know if you have any question.
Yeah, thank you. Just one question on the transfer itself. So if we have an item that's in multiple sources and we do the last option that you showed there, the transfer to another one, assume it's only going to move from the one that you input in the dropdown, but just wanted to confirm. Meaning if a product is on 3 sources and you click on transfer and you select one of those sources, then the other 2 will not be affected.
Yes, basically they are not affected at all. So basically the only one affected are the origin source and the destination source. And the only side effect we may have here is that if we decide to transfer to a source in which the product was not assigned before, we create automatically the assignments. but all the other sources are not affected at all.
Okay, great.
I have another question from my side. How do we build the from a drop-down? What sources get there?
All the sources.
Just all the sources, or just all the sources to which the source item, to which the check source items belongs to?
Well, now we just choose all the sources, but of course we should filter depending on the product selection. I think the only one allowing all the sources should be the destination one. So yeah, I think we should filter.
Okay, cool. And I didn't have time. Time to check? Do we already use the bulk APIs?
Well, not yet. I'm still working on that because I first of all I want to finish the proof of concept in terms of UI and user experience, and then I will work on bulk API because it's quite new to me. So I want to take my time.
You want to get your hands dirty in our bulk APIs?
Yeah, sure.
Great, but from the proof of concept, from the user experience point of view, looks very good for me. And for you, Mark, whether do we need to apply some changes, or this look and feel good to you?
No, it looks great, and I just want to point out it's come such a long way from where we started, where we had sort of different slide outs and everything was formatted differently, and it's really great to see how far it's come. I think it's great for the users.
Yeah, and this is Lori. Definitely looks fantastic. I might have some feedback on some of the text on the screens, so I'll work with Ricardo on that.
Okay, sure.
Cool. Thank you, Lori. Anton, maybe you have some question because you was interested in this story.
I'm interested in all stories, but this one specifically. Okay, so just yeah, overall it looks good. It's an improvement of what we had over what we had. Please remind me what's an effect. So when you have a single source, you are in single source mode, and so you have single source, you have single stock on single website, and then you add additional source. What happens currently in Magento? So I understand that this feature is to migrate products from between sources, right?
Yep.
But what happens today if you add one more source?
If you create a source now, then the source is created with whatever attributes you give it, but no products are assigned unless you make the assignment.
But what was the scenario that we are fixing? Like, so if you add one more source and one more stock, right, and start adding products to that source, what's the behavior today? Why do I think the behavior is that you cannot assign that you cannot assign that new source to default stock, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, and I remember now, understood. So, of course, this fix, it makes it much easier. I think we have to emphasize it in documentation and explain why, because the scenario, it's not very intuitive, that if you, as we discussed multiple times before, if you add a source, you cannot link it to default stock and stuff. We have to make sure that we have this documented in both code and dev docs. And that, and the route to this, and explain that as a solution to this problem, you have this mass migration contributed by the Rick.
we can have the Rick in a code comment.
Yeah.
Will do.
Thank you, the Rick. You're awesome.
Okay.
Maybe we should have an ASCII image of the Rick in a code comment.
Yeah, we are trying to find the original PSD.
Okay, so the last part of the presentation would be, of course, not so great as made by the Rick, but I didn't have time to document it properly, but I will just share the last result of our last discussion, and actually 2 days ago we ran a poll on MSI Slack channel regarding what to do with the Backorder functionality, because I can demonstrate how it works right now. So the main idea, let me. So this is again question about the Backorder functionality and how we're supposed to treat Backorder configuration, because in Magento 2.2, so in a single stock Magento, which we have right now, all the stock deduction, we don't have such a term like a source deduction. All the stock deduction happen at the time of the order placement, so that we don't manipulate with the stock quantity at the time of invoicing and shipment creation. And actually, that's why even if you if you have a product with a Backorder configuration, you can place an order and you will get your stock item with a negative quantity. And after that, you can create a shipment for this stock item. So this is how it works in Magento. This is how it works in Magento core right now. But let's see how it works on MSI. For these purposes, let's open this product and specify some quantity to it. So currently we have the quantity. So it was out of stock. Let's specify some quantity, because there are some reservations already created. So I just updated the quantity, and we will have the saleable quantity recalculation. And let's see what the saleable quantity. So the saleable quantity now 115. And let's specify that we allow Backorder. So Backorder is enabled. And just to make sure that I don't have a threshold for the Backorder, because I'm on, let's specify the out of stock threshold is 0. So if you specify out of stock threshold is 0, we would consider that Backorder functionality works as it worked before. So we have the infinite quantity of product, because the functionality is a little bit changed with the feature implemented by Alessandra. Because before that, we always considered that if the Backorder functionality is enabled, we have the infinite number of products to fulfill the orders. But now we consider that we have infinite numbers if we have 0 or positive quantity for out of stock threshold. If we have a negative quantity, we have a finite number of products. And this actually is the biggest change introduced by Alessandro. So let's now get the Backorder functionality with the infinite number of products, and let's place an order. So let's go to the front end. And place an order. Let's refresh this page. So the product is supposed to get in stock now, and let's buy, let's say 300 items of this type. And now let's place the order. So the order is placed. The order is placed. Almost placed. Yeah, it's placed. And now let's open this order. So here it is. Now let's try to ship this order. So as you can see, there are 300 items. And taking into account that in MSI, along with the stock deduction, we have the source deduction. So the source deduction is supposed to happen at the time of the shipment creation. So as soon as I will click the submit shipment, and the new shipment gonna be created. And in the scope of this shipment creation, we will determine the source from which we need to make a source deduction. In this case, this is default source, and we will try to make a source deduction from the default source. And taking into account that we don't have enough quantity on default source item, we will get an error that we don't have enough quantity to fulfill the order, to fulfill the requested quantity. And actually, this is currently the main difference comparing to what we have with the Magento Core. Because in Magento Core, we actually apply Backorder for stock, but on MSI, we have configuration for stock level and for source level. And this Backorder, which exists right now, is applicable for stock level. So we apply it as a condition to check whether we can place an order or whether we can add the product to the shopping cart, but not the configuration option whether we can make a source deduction or not. And that was actually discussion about this during this week. And actually here the result of this discussion. So we decided that actually it's pretty similar to what we already have for quantity functionality, because for quantity functionality we have two types of quantity. We have the stock availability, so the number of products we have allocated on a source items, and we have product saleability. This is an aggregated quantity among all of the source items plus additional business logic, for example, like minimal threshold, for example, because the negative threshold for backorders also add a value to the saleability quantity. So it's pretty similar. And actually what we decided that we will introduce the backorder configuration option on a level of source. And we will calculate the backorder configuration option on a level of stock. And the stock configuration option would be used as a check for order placement and adding product to the shopping cart. And the source configuration option would be used to make a decision whether we allowed or not allowed to proceed with the shipment with a negative quantity. Because for some user scenarios, yes?
To clarify, so it will be both on source and stock?
Yeah, but on a stock level, it wouldn't be possible to specify it manually. You would be able to specify it manually just on a source level, the same as we have for quantity. So it
will be derived from source that stock is linked to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and if stock is linked to sources that have different configuration.
Yeah, so for example, in this case, if there is like stock A and this stock A and there are three sources assigned to this stock A, like source A, source B, and source C, and one of the sources, like source C, for example, has a backorder enabled, the whole configuration of the stock would be backorder enabled as well. So, for example, source. Yeah.
Okay. So and I guess stock availability doesn't influence the backorder decision because it's backorder, right? So if that source doesn't have anything in stock, it's okay to still allow backorders.
Yep.
So basically, stock backorder enabled overrides everything else, right? And so would you would it actually be stored in stock configuration, the stock item configuration level, or would you just calculate it? So would you store it in stock item configuration?
Actually, it's a little bit more tricky because since we will have the backorder with a negative quantity threshold, it's a little bit tricky to calculate it because as I said before, we have if the minimal threshold is 0 or positive, we consider backorder as an infinite number of products. But if the threshold is negative, we just consider, like, for example, we have 10 products on a source item with a negative threshold like -5. So we will consider that the stock availability here is 15, like 10 plus 5.
So how would it be stored? Would it be stored in stock item? So in stock item, it would be just quantity 15?
Yeah.
And stored, right? We do during indexation, we would store the data. Okay. Okay. And there are, I guess, because of this data duplication, and it's not related to this topic only, there are lots of scenarios when the data can get out of sync, right? And this backorder functionality adds more to those scenarios, like backorder disabled and backorder threshold changed.
Yep.
It would be good to have all of those scenarios described. I'm not sure if you have them. But,
I'm not sure as well. So actually,
my experience predicts a lot of bugs in this area if they're not well documented.
You are, as always, right.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, actually, the main idea here from the business perspective is to support the dropshipping functionality. Because currently existing behavior, when you can place an order but you are not able to create a shipment for this order until you will stock some quantity for your products sufficient to fulfill the order. This is perfectly good for business which has like a supplier, and they need to get this amount of products, and after that make a shipment by themselves. But if we consider the use case with a dropshipping, where all the shipment done by a dropshipper, the current behavior is not sufficient because as a merchant, you can't even complete the order. Because to complete the order, you need to create a shipment, and probably you need to create a shipment at least for having some possibility to track all the orders which are completed, and just to track what was already delivered by the dropshipper. So having this functionality with the backorder on the level on source and stock, we can say that we support dropshipping in Magento. So that was a decision we've done during this week. Are there any questions regarding this? If not, looks like that was the last point in the agenda. Are there any other question, proposition, some thoughts, etc.? Looks like no. So thank you guys for your time. It was really really good demo. So we just we not even started our next sprint, but we already demonstrated 2 of the stories which are part of the sprint. So really good velocity. Thank you guys, and thank you for your contribution. See you next week.
Yeah, thank you everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.